Hi, I'm Tyson Farmer, and welcome to my tuning course. I'm glad you decided to teach yourself using my classes. By the end of this video series, you should be able to tune almost any guitar with almost any tuner. Let's get right into it. Okay, before we start tuning, let's go over some basic terms and definitions I'll be using throughout the tutorial. First off, some parts of the guitar. This is an acoustic guitar. It's hollow and creates its own sound. This is an electric guitar. It's pretty quiet on its own and needs to be plugged into an amplifier with a guitar cable to be heard. There are hybrids of the two and more types of guitars out there, but these are the two main types. This is the body of the guitar. If you imagine this as the body of a little guitar person, it's pretty easy to name the other parts of the guitar. This is the waist. It fits on top of one of your legs when you're sitting down. This is the guitar neck, and this is called the headstock. These are the guitar strings. There are 6 of them on a standard guitar. They can be made of metal or nylon plastic, and they are what you'll be tuning to musical notes. The strings are attached at the headstock to the things that do the actual tuning. The strings go up or down in pitch depending on which way we twist them. Some people call these different things like guitar tuners, tuning pegs, tuning knobs, or even just tuners. But in this tutorial, I'll be referring to them by their official textbook name, which is tuning machines. Some tuning machines are arranged with 3 tuning machines on each side of the headstock, which is called a 3+3 configuration. And some are arranged all in a line, called a 6-in-line configuration. Some guitars have different or uneven configurations, but those are the 2 most common types. When you're holding the guitar, it's not super important right now whether you rest the guitar waist on your right leg or your left leg. So just experiment and see which is most comfortable for you and allows you to see the neck the best. It also doesn't matter right now if you're sitting cross-legged or on a chair or sofa with your feet on the ground. Just make sure the guitar neck is angled slightly diagonally up from the ground, or at least level with it, instead of the headstock pointing down at the ground. Also, try not to let the bottom of your guitar where it rests on your leg slide forward too much past the top part, so the guitar is resting at an angle on your lap with the strings facing up. Even though this makes it easier to see the strings at first, it makes it harder for your hands to reach when you start playing the guitar and creates more problems than it solves. You're better off trying to hug the guitar up to your stomach, where the guitar strings are pointing more forward. If you're right-handed, the guitar headstock should be pointing to your left when you're playing it. And if you're left-handed, the guitar headstock should be pointing to your right. In other words, the headstock should be pointing to the opposite of your dominant hand side, with the thickest string on top closest to you. If you do all the above correctly, but the thinnest string is on the top closest to you, then that means you have an opposite-handed guitar. Left-handed guitars are a thing, and if you're a lefty, this also means you have a decision to make. Will you shop for and buy a left-handed guitar, or just adjust to living in a right-handed dominated world and use a right-handed guitar? This one's up to you, but for what it's worth, left-handed guitars aren't that hard to find nowadays, especially online. Speaking of lefties, I won't be referring to your hands as right and left, since that would get confusing for left-handed players. Instead, I'll be calling the hand that picks the strings your picking hand, and the hand that reaches over and turns the tuning machines your tuning hand. The tuning system that we will be talking about in this tutorial is called standard tuning. The word standard basically means universally agreed upon or traditional, so we'll be tuning in the most common and traditional method. Each of the strings make musical notes when they are picked, and all musical notes are named with letter names. The letter names of the strings in standard tuning, from the top thickest string to the bottom thinnest string, are E, A, D, G, B, and E. Traditionally, most people tend to tune from the thickest string on down to the thinnest string, and that's what we'll be doing, but you can do it in any order you want, as long as you know what the letter name is for each string you're tuning. Since there are 2 E strings on the guitar in standard tuning, most guitarists call them low E and high E, as in lowest in pitch and highest in pitch, not as in lowest to the ground and highest from the ground. Now, although the strings are traditionally letter named from top to bottom, E, A, D, G, B, and E, they're officially numbered from bottom to top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So don't get confused when you see the number next to the thickest E string as 6, as in 6th string instead of 1, and the thinnest string on the bottom as 1, as in 1st string instead of 6. If this numbering from the bottom thing seems confusing and counterintuitive, I completely agree, but don't ask me why this is a thing, because I don't know myself. This is just the way guitar history ended up deciding that's the way it should be. Now don't worry if all of this is a lot of info right now. I'm going to be reinforcing and reviewing as we go, so just take in what you can and don't worry about memorizing everything right now. Something I do suggest you memorize, though, are the string letter names, since you'll be using them a lot. Some people like to just memorize the strings in their top-down order, E, A, D, G, B, E, like I just showed you. But most people like to use a little clever saying to memorize their strings, like Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie. Or every animal dances good but elephants. These memory tricks are called mnemonic devices, and you've probably used them before in school for passing a test or when memorizing lists of stuff. If you want to come up with one of your own, that's okay too. Just make sure it's one that's easily memorizable, or it kind of misses the whole point. A great website for this is called mnemonicgenerator.com. Just click on Guitar Strings, and then click on Generate, and it'll create endless mnemonics for you. Whether you decide to use a mnemonic or just memorize the strings as plain E, A, D, G, B, E, it's a good idea to decide on one soon, since you'll be using it every time you tune your guitar. When you get a chance, print out the string name chart that comes with this lesson and write down the mnemonic words you choose for each corresponding string on the chart. Just make sure you're putting the right words on the right strings. We'll be going over the other info on the chart in the next few lessons.